Hello. I am Soup or Supernova or whatever you want to call me. Today I'm gonna talk about my NaNoWriMo experience because I have done it twice. I've attempted NaNoWriMo twice and I actually completed it both times. So I got basically what that means. NaNoWriMo was a writing challenge where you try to write 50,000 words in the month of November towards normally either a new story or like one you've been working on, but you try to get 50,000 words of progress in there. So both times I started a new one, but that basically means 50,000 words in 30 days. You're writing about 1,667 words per day, and it is a big commitment. But I'm gonna share with you my progress because I feel like, I want to, of course, and I want to be able to encourage other people and just share my experience so you know exactly what it's like. I know that NaNoWriMo now, they shut down, and so now other groups are filling the gap. I need to look some up, and hopefully I'll link some in the description. But yeah, that was due to an issue with, I think, leadership in NaNoWriMo. But I honestly wasn't in the groups, the text channels that were affected most likely. I literally just used the graph, and then one thing I did do is I started a writing account on Instagram when I was working on my stories. But yeah, okay, let's talk about my first experience with NaNoWriMo the first time around. So, it was 2023. Yeah, it was 2023. And I was doing dual enrollment at the time. So, that was a little bit crazy because that was literally my first semester of dual enrollment. But I was like, you know what? I am gonna do NaNoWriMo. I'm gonna try my absolute best to finish it. And first of all, I had the idea that yes, I can do it. I'm doing this my first time, but I believe I can do it. I got this. Because June of 2022, I had also written a story of mine called The Facility, and I had finished the whole first draft, given it was only like 10 to 12,000 words, but I had still completed it in a month. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it again, but this time with NaNoWriMo because NaNoWriMo is just around the corner. So I actually did a little bit of planning beforehand, like the week coming up to it. I thought up as many different stories that I could, and I was like, which one am I absolutely obsessed with? And that I know I can probably write 50,000 words of, and that'll keep me engaged for the longest time. And I tried my best to get into it just like a week before because I know that my attention span / obsession runs out with time. So I needed a fresh idea that I could be obsessed with right away and keep obsessed with the whole November. So I came up with this idea, the kidnapping war, which was actually inspired by something I saw on the news at the time, but basically it got me thinking, wait, so what if a group of people wanted to take prisoners of their the opposite country, like they're at war, except their prisoners are actually moved to their military and have to fight for that opposing country against their home country. And honestly, I still love that idea. I don't know. It just seems like such a cool, intriguing idea, and I love all like the emotional, the emotions with that, and yeah, I just think it's such a cool story idea, and I don't know of any other books or stories that use that idea. So I would say it's pretty original. Not sure how original, but I haven't seen one before, so. But anyways, I decided on that, and I plotted. I did, maybe, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just generally plotted the first time. I don't quite remember anymore. Honestly, maybe I should have looked it up before I started recording. But I made sure to plot it as much as I could in the time before, and I came up with 2 main characters. And so on November 1st, I started actually writing, I think. Maybe I should fact check myself. One moment. Okay, so I did start writing it on the first day of November. Very, very good start. So I wrote 324 words the first time, which is a good start. It is quite a lot of words. You should be proud of that if you started writing and that's how much you write, because you are still writing. Any progress is good progress. And that's important to remember. I may have forgotten that a little bit along the way, but yeah, it was pretty solid as a start. And then the second day I wrote 1,014 words. I have a spreadsheet with all the words I wrote on every day, so that's how I know. And then the next day, the third, I wrote 619. Again, under 1,000, but yeah, November 4th, 1,290. And by that point, I had written 3,269 words in all, which again is really good progress for only being 4 days in writing it. But 5th day, I wrote 2,414 words. So that was above 1,667 words. It did not bring me back to like where I should have been for that time, but I say move at your own pace is one thing I definitely learned with that. Like, as long as you can keep that pace. You do need to strategize, of course, but yeah. So then the next couple days, the next 3 days, it was all over 1,000. On the 7th, I wrote 1,801 words. So on the 9th, I wrote 819 words, again, under 1,000 words. And by the 10th, on the 10th, I had written completely 12,589 words in all. That's how long the kidnapping war was so far. Okay, that is already close to how long the facility was, and I only wrote that in 10 days. I am immensely proud of myself for that, even now. I know, like, now that I've written 2 50,000 word stories, both in just 30 days, I know it's not that big of an accomplishment, but it's still the stepping stone. Seriously, do not underestimate those stepping stones. And writing can get easier and then get harder, and that somewhat depends on the story. So sometimes your progress is going to be fast, sometimes it's going to be slow. Just you're making progress, which is the important thing, again. But anyways, by the 15th, my total number count was 21,364, which I basically did that in half the time that I had the first 10 days. So that is amazing progress. I think that was where I really sped up. Oh, yeah. One of my most word days was November 12th with 3,252 words, which is a lot of words for one day. And let me just check how long I took that day. I wrote for 2 hours, 46 minutes, which, okay, writing speed is a whole different thing, and it depends on so many factors, but I tend to write on the average to maybe fast speed. And I was doing all of this on laptop, so that just gives you an idea. Like, I wasn't doing it on the phone, I wasn't handwriting it, so there was a somewhat faster speed through that. But then November 20th, by November 20th, I had written 30,000, which, ooh, good progress again. Which if I continued in this pace, then I would finish it on time, because at this point, every 5 days, I was writing 10,000 words. So I have 20,000 words and 10 days left at this point. But I have to say, that was pretty tough. But by November 25th, I had written 35,033 words. I had slowed down again. So I was worried about it, because November 21st, I wrote 999 words. November 22nd, I wrote 995 words. November 23rd, I wrote 424 words. So this was around Thanksgiving. So for Thanksgiving that year, we actually traveled to our family, our relative's house. So I was not at home. And also, like, I was doing dual enrollment. Apparently, for Thanksgiving week, we still had homework to do, given it was a little bit of a lighter load, but we had to figure out when to do that. And also, we were kind of away from home, and we had to plan for Thanksgiving and stuff. So it was very, very tough to fit any sort of writing in. And at this point, I was just feeling very unmotivated. This was probably the lowest part of the whole month for me. But once I got home, I was able to start writing more again. This was very much crunch time. I had to be very, very, what's the word? I'm forgetting the word. Intentional. I had to be intentional with my writing. So throughout the time, I don't remember exactly what days, but I tended to try to finish my schoolwork at 10 p.m. or sometimes 10:30 p.m. And then from that time to midnight, I would be working on writing. And like after midnight, if I did have any other schoolwork that I really needed to get done or really wanted to get done before I slept, I would do that then. Because for NaNoWriMo, it only counts up until midnight, the words for each day. So I wanted to make sure there wasn't any like bubble over, because that would mess me up and everything. But yeah, that was just how I functioned. But by giving myself that like 1 hour, 2 hour block, and I think I would also write after lunch or maybe in the morning a little bit, more like 15 minutes to an hour, just however long. Because of that, I was able to fit about 2 or so hours of writing time into each day. So I was then able to use that time to write, which I think at that time I generally wrote about 1,000 words per hour. So that was really helpful. Like, I will say my writing speed very much helped me in this challenge, but you can build up your writing speed, and sometimes that means you just have to write whatever comes into your head. I know for me, that's kind of what ended up happening a lot of the time, but yeah. So then, okay, let me just read out these individual word counts for each day. November 26th, I wrote 2,493 words. November 27th, I wrote 3,260 words. November 28th, I wrote 4,235 words. That's, I think, still my biggest writing day ever. Some people have written 12,000 words in one day, but like, I'm not that crazy. This was hard for me because writing does take active inspiration a lot of the time. And then November 29th, 1,835 words. Okay, so by the end of November 29th, I was at the total word count of 46,856 words. That is intimidatingly low. That meant I had to write over 3,000 words for the last day. But November 30th, I wrote 3,152 words, and I finished it like 6 minutes before midnight. that is when I had written 50,000 words. So overall, I wrote 50,008 words. But that was so close. I was literally scrambling to write it all. And I think that most of that text I had written, the 3,152 words, most of it was the epilogue. And I'm like, how do I draw this epilogue out as long as possible while also making it still good? But you gotta learn to just go with what you have. But that was my first time doing NaNoWriMo, and during the whole process, I was posting on my writing account I made on Instagram, which I definitely recommend. Please make a sort of space where you can post about your writing, and you can find other people that are just as obsessed with writing as you are, because it will immensely help you. And probably find some writing inspiration wherever you can. I also made sure that my algorithm on that account would only show me the most writing type videos, and that really helped my inspiration. So I would recommend doing that. But of course, NaNoWriMo is really hard. It's like running a marathon, trust me. But you can do it without training your writing too much. I would recommend to write something before, at least, but that's what I'm saying. But anyways, the next year, I had just moved like 2 months prior, and I wasn't planning on competing in NaNoWriMo again. But funny story, 2 of my siblings, I have 4 siblings by the way, but 2 of them said that they were gonna do NaNoWriMo that year, and I was like, oh, okay. Then of course I'm gonna do it too, because at this point I've learned that when other people around me are inspired and motivated to write, then I will be motivated and inspired to write. So I was like, these are 2 of the people that I'm in most close proximity with, and I want to support them too, help them with that. And I also want to write myself, and I want to prove that I can win NaNoWriMo again. And so I competed that year. This is last year. So think this time last year. Okay, fun. At least I was out of school. But I was working now. This was before I was working 2 jobs at once, at least. So we got that going for me. And I don't think there were as many big things that were happening throughout this one. Now, funny story. At first, I started writing constructed wings, which I have a video about, which you should totally watch. It's just a minute, 30 seconds or something, badly explaining constructed wings. But I had that idea. I had the first ideas for like the concepts of the characters back in 2021, but then I got this idea like in the month preceding NaNoWriMo, and I was super excited about it and everything. So November 1st comes and I'm working on it. November 2nd, November 3rd, November 4th. And then you see, the whole time I was kind of struggling with having constant motivation and inspiration for this story, and it just felt like I was trying to write in filler. It felt like there was not enough plot to it. So I was like, I think I have to change the story I'm working on. But I was like, I cannot do this more than 5 days in. So I have to come up with another idea right now. And so the idea I came up with, I may have written it beforehand, like a little writing idea, which by the way, definitely write down all your writing ideas. You will forget them otherwise. And they might come in handy later. You could even work on multiple writing ideas in one story. But there was one writing idea I had where basically the sentence that inspired it was, now I'm forgetting it. Give me a second. Basically, a group of young adults believe that the key to surviving the zombie apocalypse is humor. Okay, very fun. But basically, they're attending a college in Atlanta, Georgia. Which, by the way, I did not live in Atlanta, Georgia, but basically my whole life I lived in Georgia until I moved. So, and funny story, I wrote this right after I moved. So, yeah, but I chose that setting because honestly, like, I wanted it to be in a big city, but I wanted it to be one that I was slightly familiar with. But I've never actually been in downtown Atlanta. The closest I've been to that is going to the stadium a couple times for different events. I've been to one ball game. But yeah, I wrote it about that, and it was so much fun, actually. But that was not the original plan, and now I had to finish it in 25 days. I did not expect that, but that's better than 20 days, okay? So I was at least glad about that, but that was pretty intimidating. But the first day, I wrote 2,506 words. I had learned from my mistakes, apparently. I was starting off strong. I was trying to get as many words as I could, like, early on. That way, I could take it a little bit slower the later days, and also, like, I was behind schedule anyways. So, let me just think real quick. Basically, since I'm doing it in 25 days, and I'm trying to write 50,000 words, that's 2,000 words per day on average. So even though I did write 2,506 words, that is just 500 words over the average I have to keep for every day. But my schedule was more relaxed this time, so in theory that should help. Very good. Now, the second day, I wrote 488 words. Which, by the way, that is November 7th. But yeah. And, my writing kind of kept like this for a while. Like, I would get 2,000 plus words one day, and then I would get under 1,000 words the next day. Like, these are the first days. November 6th, 2,506 words. November 7th, 488 words. November 9th, 2,041 words. November 10th, okay, I lost track. Okay, one moment. November 8th, 2,041 words. November 9th, 563 words. November 10th, 3,526 words. Okay, that's really good. November 11th, 951 words. November 12th, 175 words. Okay, that that was not sounding promising. But this stayed what's the word? But it was normally what ended up happening, especially near the start. And November 15th, I wrote 243 words that day. And at that point, that day, in all, I had written 15,690 words, which you're supposed to be halfway through your book at this point in NaNoWriMo. And I was like, how did I end up getting even worse than the first time I did NaNoWriMo? I kind of felt that way. But also, I had missed the first 5 days, so it was understandable. But yeah, and then, I'm looking at this sheet. I'll need to take a screenshot and show you, but it's really crazy because then most of the days were at least 1,000 words. Most of them were 2,000 words or more. Like, November 16th, 2,278 words. November 17th, 1,801 words. November 18th, 2,362 words. November 19th, 2,373 words. November 20th, 528 words. But that was the last time I had written under 1,000 words this month, this NaNoWriMo. And that was the 20th. Okay, that's pretty crazy. Looking at this, honestly, it amazes me because, honestly, okay, I'm not competing in NaNoWriMo this year. I'm kinda, sorta doing something similar, but I'm mostly focusing on my comic and also taking it slow, So, I'm also kind of working on a story idea I came up with, which is called The Star Child. and that is currently at, I think, like 5,000 or 6,000 words. So, like, if I was competing, I would be very much worried at this point, only having written 5,000 or 6,000 words. But that's beside the point. I have other priorities that I'm prioritizing first. But yeah. So by the 20th, in total, I had written 25,032 words. So again, I had to speed up if I was gonna win this. So by November 25th, I had written 38,052 words. Okay, and if I kept this steady pace, then I would complete NaNoWriMo on time. And spoiler alert, I did. But November 30th, I wrote 3,616 words, which is the most words I wrote that time. Excuse me. But yeah. So I ended with 50,643 words, which I am so proud of, because I struggle to write anything over a certain amount of words, both because I kind of run out of some ideas, and normally that's when my obsession starts to wane. And I don't know, I tend to write shorter stories. I don't know why, but it's just always been like that. And I think I also tend to underwrite. Sorry about my voice, it's kind of going out. But yeah. So at this point, I have had 2 NaNoWriMos under my belt. So I feel pretty qualified to tell you what has helped me, and if you should compete in NaNoWriMo, which I do think you should, but only if you like really enjoy writing and you can put it as one of your priorities for a whole month. Which, I mean, it works perfectly for me because I do enjoy writing. It's one of my big hobbies, but I don't enjoy it quite as much on the same level as writing. And it's more of like a waxing and waning interest. I can't just do it consistently throughout the whole year, which honestly, I might need to practice doing, but November has kind of become the time of the year where I decide I am going to write, and I am going to write. So yeah, what helped me most? Let's get on to this part, which, by the way, I wrote down just very slight notes. That way I can hit all the things that I need to. But normally these are completely unscripted, as you can probably tell by how scuffed this sounds. But yeah, anyways. The big thing for me, I always recommend this, community. You need a community of people that are doing something at least similar to you, and they are motivated to do it even if they already have other jobs, especially if they already have other jobs, because they're showing you, hey, you can do it because we're doing it. And you can also see them as like an equal, like they're in a similar life stage as you, they have similar time as you, they're very similar to you, and you see them doing this and you're like, I can do this then. And that was really helpful. And they can also motivate you with words. I know words are so important for me. Like, if someone encourages me, if someone says they love my art or my writing, I am that much more motivated to keep doing it. Which, by the way, it includes you guys on YouTube. Every comment means so much to me. And, but keep that as a sign to encourage your friends with whatever things they do, especially things that you want them to do more of, okay? Positive reinforcement. But yeah, I found a community on Instagram. It was complete, like, they were people that wrote every day, pretty much. And some of them were competing in NaNoWriMo. I think I may have been one of the only people, maybe the only person that, out of the people I was talking with that actually completed NaNoWriMo that year. But that is not to denote their accomplishments. Even if you write 1,000 words, that's still more. If you write 10,000 words, that is still more. Any amount, okay, it's good. And if you were If you were editing at that time, that's also important. I know because I cannot edit my stuff. There's a block there. Which honestly I should get. I should either edit it myself soon or have someone else edit it. I have been avoiding that for years, but that's beside the point. And I also decided to post almost every day on Instagram at that point, and it kind of turned into like weekly NaNoWriMo updates. But by doing that, it encourages me in multiple ways. People see those comments, it brings me more writing friends, and they also comment and encourage me. And it's also just making the content gives me something that shows me, hey, I'm doing something. Because sometimes when you're writing a story and it's taking so long, like, there is the word count going up and everything, but you're not getting to the end and it's taking a long time, and it just kind of feels like you're doing nothing at a certain point. Well, so making content showing your progress really helped me. Maybe for you it could be something like journaling, but I know for me, I made reels. I don't know how I did that. I can't do reels anymore, or YouTube shorts. I struggle with both. But yeah, basically doing something to show you that you're doing that work, even if it's as simple as texting your friends your progress, which I also did. That is gonna help you. At least it helped me. Okay, the other thing, kind of tying into this, the graph. So on NaNoWriMo's website, there was a graph, multiple graphs actually, that showed you your progress throughout the days. I believe I have some screenshots, so I better show them to you just about now. But yeah, looking at that graph as it went up was very helpful. Sometimes it demotivated me when it was going up very slowly, especially near the end. But yeah, keep in mind the graph a lot. At least like if it helps you, otherwise disregard it completely. I just like seeing it go up and seeing it in real time. The other thing, enjoying my work in progress. Enjoy it. Make sure it's something you can enjoy the whole month, okay? And like become obsessed with it. Excuse me. But also like if you do need like a break at any point, no, wait. I lost track of what I was saying. Hold on a moment. So what you need to write, the first draft, it does not need to be perfect. That's something I kept struggling with. I thought this needs to be perfect, and then I had to remind myself, no, this does not need to be perfect. It needs to be written, especially since you're on a time crunch, which by the way, that's one thing that NaNoWriMo really helped me with. It helped me with finally saying whatever after a while, and just like going with what I had. I already moved on to my next note. Okay, but like get obsessed with your story. Write a bunch of sticky notes if that helps you and put them on the wall. And I know like for me with the kidnapping war specifically, I had to write ones for what happened every day, so I would keep track of all the days because that was important in my story, and it also gave me an overview of what was happening. Definitely take notes for NaNoWriMo just so you know what exactly is happening. Like if you don't plot it, you need those notes. But yeah, become obsessed in any way you can. Like yap to your friends about it. Maybe make videos about it. Maybe draw your characters. Just do anything that makes you become super obsessed with them. Think about them all month. Make sure that you can't wait to write. If you can, of course. But that immensely helps. And the more you think about it, the more you'll remember, and the more you'll think about the plot and stuff and be more excited to write, I would say. Of course, it can backfire if you're thinking about it too much and you get obsessed, but then you start to fall out of love with it, which that has also happened. And it's definitely happened with my comic, Doomlight, but that's another story. And the other thing, routine. please follow some sort of routine that works for you. One especially important thing for me was the ability to just have a time where I didn't need to do anything else, and I could just like silent room around me. That's what ended up being like 10 p.m. to midnight, because I have no responsibilities past a certain time, like 6:30 p.m. or something. And so I was just able to like completely focus on my work. I wasn't going to be disturbed. Thankfully, I had my own room the first time, so that really helped. But having that routine, and also one thing I did so much then, I made a playlist for my stories, or I at least listened to music that kind of got me in the mood for writing a specific thing. And I just put that on blast in my AirPods. Sometimes it was just one AirPod, but I especially liked to put both on. Normally I'm a one AirPod gal. I just wear one headphone or earbud or whatever, because I want to know what's happening around me. But at that time, two. I need to block out every other sound, and I need to get completely immersed. I need to feel the story. And that worked amazing, but sometimes it was hard to write. But having that writing time, you can also get your brain more geared towards thinking like that around that time. And also having certain routine things that lead up to it can also help with that. And just framing it as a fun thing to do, as like a break sometimes. Like when I was doing it during dual enrollment, it was a break from my homework, and my homework was a break from that. But it's just the routine gives you balance a lot of the time, and it also gives you specific times you can sit down and write. I will say sometimes it was very, very, very hard to figure out what to write, but I still sat down for that and tried to write. And also, like, if you have media that you watch at specific times of the day, maybe you could like switch it around, see what times help with your motivation and inspiration the most. I don't know, but that's been something that I've been trying to figure out even now. So I'm trying to introduce some sort of routine back into like working on my comic and stuff. And of course I have a routine with making my video, because this is the one of the 2 days I'm off from work. And so I just do this first thing in the morning after having breakfast, and then voila, I'm done. And after I finish editing and publish the video, I am free for the rest of the day. But just find a routine that works for you, and ideally something that you can keep. But also, like, sometimes once you do make a routine, you may need to switch it up after a certain amount of time. I know I do. And it might be before the 30 days have finished. So don't be scared to switch it up, as long as it's gonna help you think. But definitely talk with your writing friends if you are doing a writing challenge like this. Doesn't matter if it's in November, doesn't matter if it's 50,000 words. It could be like 5,000 words in 2 months. I don't know. But by talking with other people that are also confident, inspired and motivated to write or whatever, it just makes a world of difference, I would say. And you need to be passionate about your story. You want to write it. You want to get it out there, and you want to get it out there that month or that time. That is also very important. So I hope that this ramble upon rambles helped you. It's been pretty fun to record myself, but I will say at times okay, my audio cut out because apparently my microphone died, so now I'm on my iPhone. But I may have lost track of what I was saying, but yeah, I hope my experience helped you in some way, inspired you to do something that you have been wanting to do but have been procrastinating for whatever reason. You can do it, even if your schedule is very, very tight. I know, because I've done it with a pretty tight schedule. But yeah, hope that helps. Bye!